Testing, testing, 1 2 1 2.
As if we've started the live stream, please. Okay, thank you, and good evening again to those that are listening in on the council website. Members, I have no apologies. Does anyone have any apologies they wish to make? Yes, Councillor O'Dowd.
Yes, it's Councillor Donnelly. Had to think there.
It's the length of time you have to wait for your face to come up on the screen. I know, it's so frustrating. Members, I don't see any other lights on. We do have a number that are zooming in from home as well. So declarations of interest, members, if we're happy to take those as we progress through the meeting. Agenda item 3 and 3.1, it is an information item. Do you want to take us through it, Jonathan, or has anybody any questions on agenda item 3? I don't see any lights on, members, so everyone must be content with that. Yep, okay. Agenda item 4 then, excuse me, I'm going to hand over to Elizabeth to take us through this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. This is a decision item for members this evening, and it is around the mutual aid protocol, which is enabling assistance to be provided to councils when there is an emergency or business continuity disruption. The ask of members tonight is that they consider and review the content of the appendix, which contains the details on the mutual aid arrangements, and that they agree of the signing of this protocol. This will be signed by all councils across Northern Ireland and will come into force whenever there is any emergency which requires assistance across the different councils. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Councillor Armstrong, you've indicated, if you just unmute.
Thank you, Chair. Can you hear me okay?
Hang on. Yes, we can hear
sorry.
you.
Yeah. No, apologies, Chair. I was actually looking to get into the one before it, but I couldn't find where the little hand was in relation to the progress reports. Just a few questions on it. I know we noticed, again, absentee rates are quite high. And just a couple of questions in relation to that. Just what are the council doing to mitigate these high absentee rates? We're seeing upon quarter that we're not meeting our targets. Sorry, and that's a concern. And second point is it's not more to get into specifics of why each person is off, but do we have an understanding or table to break down the reasons why absentee rates are so high? Are the planned absences with planned surgeries and operations, are they, unplanned illnesses, or are they work related? There's not really much information there to sort of explain why. And that has knock-on effects to the service that we're looking to provide. And then the final point is, how do we compare with other councils in relation to absentee rates? I know in planning we have sort of like a league table of how we process planning applications. Are we doing anything wrong compared to other councils? Are we worse off? Are we better off? What is the correlation between the 11 other councils? So those are my 3 questions, Chair, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Armstrong. If you could just take your hand down then, and then I'll know whether you need to come back in again, if that's okay. Jonathan's going to answer or going to take you through a few of your queries.
Thank you, Councillor Armstrong, in relation to your queries around the levels of sickness and absenteeism. So I suppose, members, I can maybe draw your attention to maybe a number of the business cases or business plans in relation to absenteeism. So members will be aware our target is 16 days annually, and that would be generally 4 days per quarter in relation to the target. Certainly within the 2 key departments within environmental services and climate sustainability on parks, members will note that in terms of where we are around those days at the end of quarter 2, it was actually 6.53 days per employee, and in relation to then the climate sustainability in parks, it was 4.42 days per person in relation to Q2. I suppose, members, some of the reasons is probably the age profile in relation to those two key frontline departments. Officers in coordination with HR do carry out regular absenteeism meetings with those relevant staff. And I suppose that's a conversation then that is ongoing. We do have a level of detail in relation to the reasons for the absenteeism, and again we have a members environmental services working group on the 27th of this month. I'm certainly happy to get into a bit more detail with members in relation to some of those categories and some of that information. But certainly suffice to say, we certainly do monitor and we do actively follow up with our colleagues in HR in relation to those staff that are off. I suppose whenever we look at the profile of long-term sickness and periods of short-term sickness across that period, I think what we do and are able to analyse that there's a period of longer-term sickness as opposed to it being short-term sickness. So I suppose that is again back indicative in relation to the age profile of the staff within those departments. So we do analyse the information on a monthly basis, and as I say, we do work with our colleagues in HR and our colleagues across the departments in that regard. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Armstrong, you want to come back in? Yeah, just go on ahead.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Jonathan. And just in relation to comparative to other councils, are we seeing the same trends across the other 11 councils, or is there any councils doing slightly better what we're doing, or are the other councils doing worse? I just know that having long-term absentees, it does have a knock-on effect when it comes to trying to supply a service towards ratepayers. So just wondering, are we doing anything? Is there anything outlying for us compared to the other councils? I'd be much appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, so again, in comparison to other councils, I think the two key departments that I'm speaking of generally would have the same sort of age profile across those similar departments. So I suppose whenever it does come to those levels of absenteeism, I suppose that would be indicative of other councils as well. So I suppose it's that resourcing that we continually look and plan for. And then what mitigation that we can put in place to ensure that we can actually limit any impact upon service delivery, but certainly in relation to other councils, again, similar departments with similar age profiles and similar issues in relation to absenteeism.
Okay, Alderman Moutry.
Thank you, Chair, and I thank the Director for his responses that he gave to my colleague, Councillor Armstrong. Would I be not right? And the level of absenteeism is unacceptable, but it has historically been unacceptable in this council for a long time. Would I not be correct in saying that we now have a specialist resource that was taken on board over 6 months ago, and that we're starting to see a turning point in relation to absence across council because of the work that's been done? I'm hoping that's the case, because the levels are still unacceptable, but we're starting to see daylight maybe at the end of the tunnel at long last, and I would welcome that if it's the case.
Yes, and again, thank you, Alderman Moutry, for your question. So yes, there are systems and processes that have now been put in place that previously weren't. So there is more proactive engagement with staff that are off on long-term sickness, as well as opportunities in relation to referrals for staff that we have within our current employment. So again, there are a number of measures and processes that are put in place and have been put in place. And as I say, one of those processes is that we meet our HR colleagues on a monthly basis, and we go through each staff member that is off, so we get an actual understanding and an updated understanding of where we are across, and that is having benefits in relation to our results compared to previous years.
Content, Alderman Moutry? Yes, Councillor O'Dowd.
Thank you, Chair. The only concern I would have is this putting out of pressure onto the rest of the staff? Because we don't want them getting the out of pressure and then falling out sick.
Thank you again, Councillor O'Dowd, for your question. So yes, so again, we do monitor the level of absenteeism, particularly where there's levels of long-term absenteeism. Then we would seek to recruit temporarily into those roles, where we then take that pressure off the other resources that we have. So we do actively monitor that, and we do, where we believe there are those longer-term sicknesses, we would recruit into those roles on a temporary basis, understanding that there is a lag in terms of recruitment to get staff into those roles, but nonetheless, we do actively follow that up.
Content with that, Councillor O'Dowd. Alderman Barr.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just sort of looking at the scores there with Environmental Services, Climate Sustainability and Parks and Environmental Health Department. And there's a lot in the red, and there's a few in the grey which haven't even been hit. Can you explain why we're not hitting our targets, please? Thank you.
And Alderman Barr, if you could just lower your hand there, and then I'll know whether if you raise it again, that you want to come back in, okay?
Thank you. So again, if members refer maybe to the main body of the report in terms of reds within the Environmental Services Department, there's 22% of the actions red, 20% within the Climate Sustainability and Parks Department, and again only 12 within the Environmental Health Department. I think some of the considerations in relation to the Environmental Services Department and the Climate and Sustainability Department, and during the Q2 period, in terms of not achieving the targets, it was down to the period of industrial action that we had during July into August and then into September. That did have an impact in relation to those two departments achieving their objectives within those targets. I suppose that's something now that we're looking to put in place to bring those targets back online in remaining quarters 3 and 4. So that is something we are aware of. Members will see also within the appendices that underneath each of the reds, there is some narrative by way of explanation in relation to the reds. And again, officers are looking at that in terms of how we bring those reds back into ambers and greens in the remaining quarters 3 and 4.
Alderman Barr, I don't see your hand up. Are you content? Just give me a thumbs up, or do you want to come back in?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yes, just sort of, of concerns over, obviously, the industrial action sort of was 3 months long, and it didn't. I'm really struggling to see how it would have had such an impact, but hopefully we can get back online, and the next time it's brought back, those targets are well down, and at least should be hitting more into the greens and at least the ambers. But yeah, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Jonathan.
Yeah. No, that's your point's well made there, Alderman Barr. Councillor O'Dowd.
Sorry, this is just a quick question. We're quite in the red there about the grass cutting and things like that. And this is going to sound a real silly question, right? But is there a way of getting what grounds we actually own and maintain? Because I'm reporting, and then the next thing I'm being told doesn't belong to us, it belongs to this, or it belongs to Housing Executive or DFI or somebody. So you're chasing your tail. So can we get of what council actually own? If that is okay.
Thank you, Councillor O'Dowd, for your question. So yes, I understand that there is a piece of work that's actively being looked at within the Estates and Asset Management Department at the moment that will actually answer your question in relation to the GIS layer that members will actually see in relation to council ownership of land. So that would in essence answer your question. So I know that's being actively worked on at the moment.
And Alderman Barr, are you looking back in again? Yeah, go on ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Just on that point, could we, how long are you talking there, Jonathan, before that comes back? And can we get the rotas on it? Because I've sent you, I know you got correspondence from me yesterday or else this morning. But there's things like that like say rotas and times that places are being cleaned. We shouldn't have to be chasing that up. That should be done, especially if it hasn't been done for a long time. There's something being missed. So just really, obviously, from our perspective, we're reporting things through that we shouldn't need to be reporting through, which is wasting your time and wasting other officers' time. So maybe if we can get the rotas as well within that there, because I do think to speed things up and be a bit more efficient in terms of your time, Jonathan, in terms of your officers' time, we shouldn't need to be coming back to you all the time. So thank you.
All right. Alderman Barr, I was speaking there to Jonathan while you were raising that, and we're hoping to maybe bring that back to the working group. So that'll be the end of the month, if you're content with that. Okay. Yes. Right. 100%. Members, that concludes agenda item 3. That was just an information item, but that's fine. There was plenty of questions there, and that's what we're here to do, is to ask questions on the reports. So Elizabeth has already brought us through agenda item 4.1. Do we need reminded of what that was? Or can I have a proposer and a seconder? Or any questions? Alderman Moutry, are you content to propose? Thank you. And can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Radcliffe, thank you. Members content with that to move on? Right, the next one is an information item. And again, Elizabeth, it's over to yourself.
Thank you, Chair. This is an information item for members, really, to note the latest performance in relation to some of our statutory duties that we carry out under pollution prevention and control regulations. The content of the paper really just sets out the number of different permits that we issue across different processes for your information. And I would ask you to note as well that there are further processes that will be added to the prescribed list with a lead-in period before a permit is required. This is a paper just for noting, but I would ask you just to refer that it brings in an annual income to council for the permitting process. And obviously the bigger matter is that it reduces pollution across the borough. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Good to hear 2 good news stories there in one item. Agenda item 5, members, then 5.1. Lisa is going to take us through that.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. This first report is an information item to update members on the packaging extended producer responsibility. This will see the full cost of managing household waste shift from the producers to make it a more circular economy a circular economy payment. EPR will also change how non-household packaging will also be managed, and will be properly financed. So packaging producers will pay a levy to fund the collection, sorting and treatment of the packaging waste. Local authorities then will be fairly reimbursed for the collection, sorting and processing of packaging waste. This packaging comes through our curbside schemes from the green bins and also in the black bin. Our payments will be made to local authorities and will be notified of our estimated payments in November of this year. So the final fees will be calculated in pounds per tonne, and we hope to get our first payment back in October 2025. So we will bring regular updates back to committee once we know a few more details. So members are just asked to note the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Councillor McClelland.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and thank you to Lisa for the report. Fundamentally, it's to be very much welcome this. And I suppose the only query, and it's not even a query, it's maybe asking for more information. It talks about local authorities will then be fairly reimbursed. It strikes me that there is a potential deal type scenario in there. And just would be interested in a wee bit of the methodology around how those figures are arrived at. And then probably the strap line question is, as a local authority, are we getting the best bang for our buck or whatever? Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, and there is quite a big calculation that sits in behind this. This is going to be rolled out to all UK local authorities, and there will be groupings done. They will be using the RAP gate fee survey for tonnages as a guide to those. There's a big calculation behind it, and we can certainly provide more information to members either through the working group or back through committee then as well once we know the details on that.
Content with that, Councillor McClelland? Okay. 5.2 is just another information item through Lisa. Is anyone any questions to raise on that one? Yes, Councillor Johnston.
Thank you, Chair. It's just in relation to the types of school or the schools that would be qualifying under that new programme with the pilot scheme. I know it's on merit there with the Eco School programme, but just in terms of how those schools will be chosen across the borough, just a wee bit more information on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question. There will be 3 schools that will be involved in this at this point, and if the scheme is successful, we can run this out across the whole of the borough. They have been linked to the Eco Schools project, and it's my understanding that St Francis in Lurgan and St Patrick's in Craigavon and the third is yet to be confirmed are the 3 schools that will be piloted in the coming months on those, but I can provide further details on that as well.
Happy enough with happy enough with that, first of all, Councillor Johnston. Okay, Councillor O'Dowd.
Just a quick question. Have these schools been notified yet?
I am not aware that they have been, I presume that they have been on board with this scheme already. So yes, there's a third one still to be confirmed.
If they don't, they know now, Councillor O'Dowd, because this isn't in confidential business. Okay. Members, I don't see any more lights on. Okay. Members, 5.3 again, it's an information item, but Jonathan's just going to take us through a quick one.
Thank you, Chair members. Again, item 5.3. Officers received a meeting request in relation to the future of Loch Ness to be involved in a roundtable conversation at Westminster. Traditionally, Chair, Vice Chair of committee would be also invited, but is neither able to attend that particular event. It would be the Lord Mayor and myself attending on behalf of Council. Members will see within the detail of the report that it's being led by a number of key stakeholders, and I suppose the purpose of the meeting is to continue the dialogue between the key stakeholders in relation to how we can together preserve and enhance the this iconic natural asset, which is Loch Ness. So again, members, that's an information report for your information. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor McClelland.
Yes, sure. Thank you. No, it's just to make a declaration of interest as a board member of the Agri-Food and Biosciences Institute.
Okay, thank you, Councillor McClelland. Yes, no, members, I had asked Jonathan to take us through that because you know what, I'm quite a stickler for not setting a precedent, because what normally happens is if there's anyone going to, it normally comes to committee for a decision and not for noting that the decision has already been made, because we make the decisions here, members. So it was because of the shortness of time. But this afternoon I spoke to Jonathan and I said neither the chair or the the vice chair can make it anyway. So we were content with that decision, or that, you know, that. But going forward, I have made it very clear I'm not content for anything to come to committee that is for noting and not for members to make the decision. Alderman Barry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wondering in relation to, I take it the Lord Mayor can go. Need that confirmed?
Yes, Alderman Barry, I can confirm the Lord Mayor's going. Yes, indeed. And Jonathan is also attending in the absence of the chief. Okay. So members, we content with that? All right. Okay, so agenda item 6, correspondence. I don't have any. Could I have a proposer, members, to go into and a seconder to go into confidential business? Councillor O'Dowd and Alderman Berry. Thank you. Members and online viewers, in accordance with the schedule, we're now moving into confidential session of the council, and we're going to be turning the live feed off. So if ICT could just make me aware when that happens, please. And we're good to go. Okay, thank you. Welcome back to the public, and we have one item of AOB, and that's over to Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you, Chair. I would just like to ask officers to bring forward a report on sustainable landscaping options for the borough. I do understand that this was spoken about briefly in the working group, and it's something that my party would be very keen to see. It's really to explore options around the use of perennials over annuals, self-seeding flowers, areas of landscaping that encourage biodiversity, and to know what our options would be in advance of the spring-summer season for next year, so we could implement potentially a pilot within the borough to understand the true cost and the development of such landscaped areas which are sustainable. It still would add vibrancy and colour to our towns and villages. It would reduce our environmental footprint and show how innovative we can be. So I would really like to see that report in time for next season so that members here could make decisions going forward. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Ferguson. That's a proposal? Yep.
Yes.
Could I have someone to second that for her? Thank you, Alderman Moutray. Everyone in agreement? Okay, all good. Members, take care, safe home, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.